Yeah, Buckle, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. This is Beaver Rob, and that's all I care about today. Now, I'm just kidding. I got a couple yahoos to my left and right. That's the fight analyst,
They're
Dan
cool
Tall.
guys. What are you talking about?
That's Goes, his co-host, and that's Angelo Reyes, our good friend from the boxing and MMA world. We also call him Angel Kings. And if you were ever to do a Bruce to Caitlyn transformation, you'd be Angela Carenas.
Oh, thank you. Angela Carenas.
Not bad.
I've been watching a lot of Chappelle lately, so I get the Caitlyn.
Is he back, or is that old stuff you're watching?
Well, he did the newest one, which is Equanimity, I think, on Netflix. But it's just fun, just a funny guy. I've always been a Chappelle fan.
The guy back east, that's Danny, right?
Yeah. That's
Danny Otto's producing, the host of Poppin' Off. I did watch yesterday, by the way. Those guys are having a good time, dude.
I appreciate it.
Are you guys all high or what?
No.
I mean, they're laughing their asses off.
I don't like that.
I'll give it up.
I don't like that Pete is always surprised when they go to him. Well, they go, Pete, what do you think? And he's usually kind of like going like this. And then he like gets in.
Another thing Danny hasn't made clear is if that's his best friend or not.
Oh. I think
is that your best friend?
It's more of an inside joke because it bothers Ashley, because at one point I said he was my best friend, so now I just do it every single time because it bothers her.
Gotcha. Well, it's starting to bother me, just so you know.
Wow. Is it more that you want to be
No,
my
it's
friend?
just you said it like 10 times yesterday. I was like, is this on a loop or what's going on? All right, we get it. He's your pal. But if you're bugging the other girl, then stay with it. I'm into it. I watched, man. I liked it. It was a cool show. You guys were having a really, really good time.
Thanks. Yeah, I saw your message afterwards. The chat thing goes by so fast I didn't see it in real time, but I always go back and I read all the messages in the chat thing, and I saw you.
Sweet.
So thank you so much for watching.
All right, bud. So it is Tuesday, and we still can't really call it a fight week yet. I think we're still in the madness of March Madness. Can't we?
Dude, Dillian White just did that crazy knockout on HBO.
But that was last week. What's
well,
this
that was
week?
on Saturday. And then Joshua Parker. It's the biggest heavyweight fight in the...
I'm talking about MMA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, well, Black's over here.
Huh? Yeah. I mean, all right. It's a boxing. It's a boxing fight week.
It's a huge one. Well, since you're talking about March Madness, that's kind of how we see this heavyweight showdown. It's the Final Four, right? So we just saw Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder.
Right.
Did you guys watch that fight? Did you watch it?
Only the
I didn't
highlight
watch
finish.
it live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only the highlight finish.
Oh, all right. Did you watch it, MMA analyst?
I was cage side for UFC 222. So
Okay. All
no,
right.
no negative.
There it is, then.
Oh, that's
There
right.
it is.
Boxing had they had two events on the same night in Brooklyn and MSG,
Yeah,
right?
it was crazy because Kovalev was fighting also, and he was making his return.
Right.
Bivol and Barrera. No, man.
I did see a replay, but I did catch the finish that night.
Well, the Wilder.
Deontay just goes so hard when he smells blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Deontay Wilder's got that. I mean, again, that That jab is good, but he times that long straight right really well. That's how he's knocked out every opponent he's faced now. So now it's a legitimate, like, oh, okay, this is the other heavyweight fighter in the other side of the bracket. So now we're waiting for.
That's what people are just saying. Deontay Wilder's been on the map for a few years at least.
But I mean,
even if a bigger deal was made out of him, whether even before the hand issues or whatever, he was still clowning people, and he had that amazing KO run.
Yeah, no, he's great. I mean, a lot of people love him. I mean, again, he hasn't hit that mainstream status yet. I would say until about now, where because everybody's anticipating him fighting Anthony Joshua. Joshua, as you guys know, man, he filled
Olympic
up
gold medalist.
Yeah,
he beat,
but 90,000 seats,
I
like 90,000 seats in
before
less than
that,
an hour.
I thought Wilder was more over than Joshua if you throw out the Olympic gold medal.
I mean, you'd
have to remember in 2012 the homegrown guy winning the gold medal. I thought Wilder was more over even prior to that, and then that fight. Yeah, I watched that fight, the one in Wembley. Stitch was he was there. He guided Klitschko.
I think it's gotten to a point now though where if Wilder walked into a Starbucks, we would know who he is now.
Yeah.
And if Joshua walked into a Starbucks, and even after Wilder won the bronze
we'd
medal,
know who he is.
We
but
would. I don't know.
No one else would.
They would.
I don't know. You didn't watch the fight, but it was a pretty big deal. The Ortiz Wilder fight was a really big deal.
Because even in MMA, there's not that many guys where if they walked into a Starbucks, everyone would know, or at least over 50%. I think there's maybe like.
I think what you're. Go ahead.
I think maybe there's like maybe 20% of them, right?
Right.
That could pull that off. A Ronda Rousey could pull that off. A Conor McGregor could pull that off.
Right.
But even like a Tyron Woodley, I bet you if you walked into Starbucks,
some people
if there were 30 people there, I think maybe 6 or 7 would.
And the same would go, I think, for Wilder.
For Wilder right now.
But I think a lot of people would look at that guy and go, he's someone I just
that's
don't
true.
know.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's why in the boxing world, we are pretty excited that if the Final Four showdown does happen the way it does, it'll be the first time we've had 2 heavyweights that can kind of replicate what happened with Ali and Frazier. You know, like their first fight, they'll both be undefeated if it's Joshua against Wilder. And then it'll be an automatic rematch. It'll probably be in both countries. They'll probably do one in the United States. They're talking about T-Mobile Arena and just packing it like how Ricky Hatton used to pack the arenas, and then they would do the UK, which they'll probably sell over 100,000.
So why would they do a stadium show here? Because Wilder's not as over in here.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
Okay,
I mean, even Ricky Hatton is on his height, on his popularity height. I don't think he could have filled up a stadium. He definitely filled up these arenas, though. He filled up. I was at the Thomas and Mack when Ricky Hatton fought. The guy that beat Diego Corrales in the most epic fight in boxing. Yes. Yeah, I was there for that. And he packed the Thomas and Mack arena.
They got packed for, who was Chavez fought someone there, right?
Thomas and Mack? Yeah.
When they strategically used Thomas and Mack.
I guess the point is, because I was going to bring up Pacquiao, and was it Clottey? They filled up. Or not filled up, but it was still a good crowd.
Yeah. They did pretty good.
It's got to be a fighting country that backs their guy, because the Americans aren't going to really fill up a whole stadium. They'll fill up the T-Mobile, but they won't fill up a stadium.
I think part of that, don't get me wrong, Pacquiao's a big fighter, but I think part of that was it was the first boxing match at that new gigantic stadium, and I think people just wanted to say, I want to be a part of that. I want to see what it's
that's
like.
What they should do. What they should do is the lower bowl, make your money there, but say, hey, if you want to come and be a part of this, $20, whatever gets you in the door, just get there. You know, they can still make some food or some money off food. The concessions, parking, and anything else, and.
Well, that's
but make it an event. Right.
Well, that's what's kind of interesting too right now is, so over Saturday night, did you guys get to watch HBO Boxing with Dylan White? Okay, so Dylan White, Lucas Brown.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, you saw that. That was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he knocked him out
his
cold.
Black eye, his left eye was just messed up, and it was a matter of time.
Now, let me ask you, when you were watching it, George, White, what do you think of his style? Like, do you think he's now the legitimate #1 contender to Deontay Wilder? So, what do you think of his style?
I love it. I mean, it's really fan-pleasing.
Right.
And both guys were really just, towards the end, really, I mean, the round before the fight ended was really, really fun to watch, especially because I thought they were both just going at it. I thought both guys were courageous. But, again, that eye was starting to really, really look ugly. And at some point, I don't know if it's MMA or what it is, or having seen plenty of KOs by now, you kind of just know what the inevitable is.
Right.
And so you're like, either let's get there or have the guy turn it around, or maybe the doctor can let them fight another day. But I don't want to see repetitive damage over and over and over and over. But these guys were swinging so hard. Yeah, I mean, that's the fight. The fight ended properly.
Yeah, no. And now, how do you think a matchup with Dillian White versus Deontay Wilder would go if they did fight?
I'll still ride with Wilder until he loses. He seems to be pretty effective, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you like that style?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But he's an undersized guy, right? What was he, like 210?
214 at best.
And what's
Very
Joshua
tall.
weigh? 230?
Oh, my God. No, actually, he's 260. He really is a massive
Joshua?
guy. He's like 265. He's bigger than Frank, and Frank's a big dude. You know, so way bigger than Frank. Like, he massively is bigger than Frank. So, yeah, no, there's actually rumors right now that for this particular fight, and we'll see it at the weigh-ins this week, that Anthony Joshua has purposely is going into it even bigger, or just more solid, because his game plan is to be more like a tank, I guess. And then Joseph Parker's game plan is going to be more like Ali style. Move around, use angles, use the jab, break them down. So it'll be interesting.
I wish Klitschko, the way he fought Joshua, he would have fought his last 5 years per se, or maybe his whole career, some would say. He brought out a lot out of Joshua, you know.
Right.
But man, I mean, I wasn't always a fan of his fights. He was effective, but that fight was awesome, and I thought him fighting like that could either help put those other guys over, or at least it could lead to the rematch that was rumored here in Vegas, possibly a trilogy if he won it, because he put Joshua down, you know?
Yeah,
it's not like he was out of the fight.
No,
he was in the fight.
I mean,
but he's 41, 42.
Yeah, 41.
Yeah, and still in great shape, but made a ton of money, and I guess he just figured, nah.
Nah, I mean, I think it was more, you know, what else could – I mean, first off, when we talk about someone like a Vladimir Klitschko, let's not forget that really that was one of the most dominant eras of someone having the reign of the heavyweight championship in like forever, right? So I always it's kind of like I feel like Klitschko a little bit got robbed in one respect in an American media light, kind of like Larry Holmes. Like Larry Holmes during his time, and a lot of people that are purists still believe that Larry Holmes might be the greatest heavyweight boxer that's been out there. But during the time that he was in, man, he was just smoking everyone. You know, that jab was piston-like. He dropped everyone with the straight right. He had power in both hands. I mean, like, Larry Holmes was amazing. So I feel like, is it really fair to say that Klitschko didn't fight as well as he could have when he was just knocking people
exciting.
out,
I
man?
should have said as exciting.
You know, but you know what I'm saying? Like a jab. We're talking a man who was 6'5", 260. No, but you know what? When I talk about Klitschko, like
he was closer to like 6'9", wasn't he?
No, dude, come on, that's the
I didn't say 7 feet. They used to say 7 feet.
No, he's not that tall. Joshua's actually bigger than Klitschko. So, but I think that what made the Joshua Klitschko fight so exciting is, I think in Klitschko's mind, he didn't want to say he was ready to retire. But that was kind of like his last. Like he was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it all my all on this one. And then there's the ebb and flow of he gets hurt, then he hurts Joshua, then Joshua has to come back, and then they're still fighting to the end. And then and even on that one, Klitschko wasn't going to quit. The referee had to stop that fight because he wasn't going to quit. Which I think it's the way to go. Maybe Klitschko comes back later, but I don't think so. I think he's done.
Speaking of retirement, your prize people, Anna Hulaton, recently announced a retirement from boxing and MMA.
Yeah, no, that was last Wednesday. It was actually kind of, I was the third person to know. But she was in the Bay. She was getting herself in shape, for the match with Heather Hardy. And she came back. She hadn't seen Frank since the last fight, and over the weekend, ironically, they were at No Regrets Bar. There was a Frank Mir event, and that's the first time they just kind of talked. And during that time, Frank was just kind of giving her an evaluation of how he saw the fight. If you guys want to check out what he said exactly, it's on Phone Booth Fighting. They put it out, and Frank just kind of
what he told her at No Regrets?
Yeah, what he was telling her.
Can you summarize it for those that are listening?
Pretty much Frank was telling Anna, hey, look, man, I know you, and I know the style of fighter that you are, and in your last fight, I just didn't feel like your heart was really in it. You know, like I felt like you were fighting. I felt like you were there, but I didn't feel that fun passion, that, you know, that smiling, I'm having a great time in here. And I think something in Anna's head that maybe she's been holding on to for a while kind of triggered. And then, the decision was really emotional, you know, like, because she really had to think, like, she had to really say to herself, I think it was on a Tuesday. She thought it through the whole time. She was supposed to be at a private screening of Pacific Rim with Frank and everybody, and she just went all the way through. And then when she made her final decision, she called her longtime boxing promoter and father figure advisor, Alan Tremblay, you know, and he was the first call, and then she called Scott Coker. And then, you know, once you make those two calls, guys, you know, it's already done. Like, you know, she just called the two people that are in charge of both her boxing and her MMA career.
What do you think of the decision?
I thought, you know, every single time, like for me, and it goes with every fighter, the decision's got to be theirs, man. It's there. Like guys, people in combat sports, people die. That's it. I mean, last year, a guy in England who won his fight, he ends the fight, he died, you know, and he won. He won a 10-round decision. So the last thing you ever want to do is have any fighter step into the cage or in the octagon or in the ring and feel like they have to do it. You know, it should be something they want to do. I'm still a big believer that, yes, money's great, but you shouldn't fight just for money. There should be a part of you that always wants to win, wants to really see how far can you take it until you're just done. And with Anna, I think that you know, the struggling part, maybe she's kind of struggled with it, maybe over the last year, maybe over the last two, but she's the type of person that she always wants to push the limit. She wants to push the limit. She wants to push the limit. And I think when she would talk to me about it before she made her final decision, she said that she knows a lot of champions, you know, like Ronnie Turiaf's an NBA champion, and Donald Foyle, he's an NBA champion. And she knows a lot, but only a fighter really understands you the way another fighter, you know, fighters understand each other. And when Frank talked to her, that's something that she just like everything that Frank's saying is exactly how I'm feeling. And, you know, I think that was, I mean, there was nothing else to prove, George. I mean, I've always said she's a first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to boxing. She's the first ever WBO, so the WBO never even recognized women until Anna fought and brought the title in, right? You know, first Filipina ever to win ever in the history of sports. We're talking from Elorde to Pancho Villa to Manny Pacquiao. Like, no woman's ever won the world title, and then Anna wins it. She wins the world title in less than 2 years. A person who, male or female, got a chance to be mentored and trained by Freddie Roach, and then near the end of her career got a chance to work together on one of her fights with Roger Mayweather. And as you guys know, Roger's sick now. I mean, he can't even do the training anymore. So she's had a heck of a career. Like, when you look back, you just like go, wow, that happened. They threw a parade for you in the Philippines. You met the Philippine president. Like, there's so many. You fought in Dubai. You fought in Manila. Like, there's so many great things. 40,000 people in Argentina. At the time when that happened, that was the largest fight ever in Argentina boxing history. 40,000 people. It was a unification fight between her and the undefeated girls. So what else could she have done? I mean, like, if you were her, what else? I mean, what else is there?
Yeah, no, you're right. Her boxing career. I mean, we talking about combat sports. I know she was a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, black belt in Taekwondo, gold medalist.
A boxing champion.
Yeah.
And I felt like when she came over to MMA, it was almost like just like the cherry on the sundae. And if there's success there, great. Mm-hmm. But boxing is where she definitely made her name, and
yeah,
she did it at a high level, so she has a lot to be proud of. Sorry, guys.
Did you see it coming? In other words, when she said it, was it something like, were there any signs that this could be a possibility coming up for you?
It's tough because I've been around fighters for so long. I mean, even in the wild card years, you're around that. Like I remember when Freddie told Israel Vasquez, hey, man, you should retire. And that was after he had fought Rafael Marquez. And Israel didn't want to retire. So rather than retiring, he just left the wild card camp, went to another camp, and he continued on. He did a couple more good things, but it was definitely near the end. Some people just kind of, you just get pushed out. Like, that's it. You're done, dude. We can't let you fight, right? So it's hard for me to say, could I tell? Because there's always an ebb and a flow to a fighter when they win and they lose, and they win and they lose, right? I mean, easily, some people were thinking, Frank Mir is an example. Some people were thinking, he's going to retire before or right after this Bigfoot Silva fight is done. He's going to retire. And everybody thought that was like, you're done. You're in a 4-fight losing streak. You're done. And if anything, it actually reinvigorated and reinvented Frank Mir, right? You know, and then there's other times where it's like you think somebody's won and then they want to keep going, and then that's it. They're just going to lose. So I can't say I could tell it was coming. I definitely knew that she was in the last chapter of whatever it is that she wanted to accomplish. And it was a huge deal to her. And she loves Bellator, guys. I mean, Bellator is really old Strike Force, right? You know, and it's the Bay Area crew. And she really loves everybody there, all the staff and Scott Coker and everything. I mean, Scott knew who Anna was, and he had met her even when she was still an amateur boxer in the Bay. And the Bay Area is kind of a very tight-knit group. So I know that one of the things Anna really wanted to accomplish was being able to be put on a national stage in the United States on free television. And it never happened for boxing, but when she was able to do it for MMA, I think that was like maybe one more notch of, okay, I did that. And then leading up to the next fight, you know, she was just kind of like, eh.
Sometimes when a fighter retires, you could just tell in their voice that sometimes they just need a break, and there's a chance they could come back.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they say it, and you go, that person's really done.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
No, she's done. No, because even when so the way it happened was on that Wednesday, she tells Alan Tremblay, she tells Scott Coker, I'm training Frank. You guys know we're heavy into the Frank Mir camp. He's doing 3-a-days, you know. So she told me, and then she went into Mayweather gym, and before Frank did a sparring last Wednesday, she told him. And she, you know, just kind of explained to him. She thanked him for the talk that they had, but she explained to him where she's at. And even in the sound of her voice, you could just tell, like, she's so happy and content with where she's at and where she wants to go. That, you know, now it's almost like the people that really know her understand that when you call her or when you talk to her, it's more of a celebration of what she's really done. I mean, like, if you look at everybody from Mark Taffet, who used to be the HBO sports guy, he congratulates Anna, you know, and everybody. I mean, Steve Farr, you name it, everybody's congratulating her because, you know, she really did. Like, she fought at a time where you only really fight because you have the passion to do it. And her drive was always to open these doors. I mean, and again, like when people go, oh, blah, you know, it's because they don't know Anna, but there are interviews from 2006 when she was an amateur. And she was talking about that the reason why she was even doing it in the first place is to open more doors for people to put their eyes into women fight sports. So that was 06 as an amateur. So if she already had that as her goal, then I think by retiring, her end goal, she actually hit it. Because now look at how amazing women's fight sports are, you know. And on the last time you had her on, George, you said to her you could really be an amazing like color commentator, analyst. So you never know. Maybe she'll be an analyst for Junkie alongside Dan Tom. You never know.
So it was I mean, that's awesome. Though. I mean, so essentially this was a good thing all around. Yeah. And like, which was kind of giving me my question, you know, about. Actually was about Frank, you know. Was it like one of those things where he was like, oh, I didn't mean retire, I was just trying to give you some constructive criticism to find no I mean, like,
no, they don't have that type of relationship. I think the reason why Frank and Anna's always, you know, helped each other, you know, during their camps and is they kind of see they understand each other, you know, like they understand each other really on a deep fighter level. Frank's won 2 world titles, Anna's won world championships and the boxing. I think they were just having a conversation, but I think that the conversation kind of maybe answered a lot of the questions internally that Anna was dealing with. And you know, like I again, man, I'm on the coaching side, guys. Like I try not to, you know, like I like any fighters I work with to always be open, because I feel like I can't do my job effectively if you're not telling me where you're at, both physically and mentally. But I think that really, you know, I don't think it was like Frank was like, whoa. I think Frank was really happy that she made that decision, because you never know, man. I mean, even like every fight, guys, especially heavyweights, it makes me nervous, you know, because you're one, okay, here's one. Last fight I remember Todd Duffy doing is when Frank knocked him out. So what happened? And it wasn't like he was old. He was young, right? So maybe that fight was the fight that made Todd Duffy go, I don't really want to fight anymore. You know, you don't know. Right?
He's had a lot of injuries.
And there's that too. And he didn't retire. I'm just saying that you actually don't really know when your last one's going to be. And every time you step in there, you better really be locked in. Because if you're not locked in, you're one punch away from something seriously happening to you. Like, weren't you a little bit worried about Lucas Brown over the weekend? The way he was getting hit by Dylan White? Yeah, I mean, like, right? So how do we know that wasn't Lucas Brown's last fight now? You know?
I don't know that I've ever asked a coach this, but with fighters, there are signs when you can kind of point to, okay, it may be time to hang it up. With a trainer, I heard Freddie Roach once say, when I can't hold pads, that's when I'm done. And we've seen with Roger Mayweather, his health.
Yeah.
But are there any other factors that ever go into a trainer where they say, where they can just be overwhelmed? Because it's a very emotional sport.
Yes.
Is there ever anything that you can pinpoint to say, man, if this were ever happen, that's when I know I'll be done?
Yeah, no, for me, it's, I think, I can't speak for everybody else, but I feel like if you're at a point where you can no longer effectively communicate what it is that you want your athletes to be able to do, I don't know if you should retire, but you should definitely make the suggestion to bring in maybe a different group or a different coach and let them kind of take the reins. I think that's one of the most, I think it's irresponsible for a lot of different coaches to not allow other coaches to help the athlete. Because at the end of the day, it's the fighter that's in there, man, fighting. So as a coach, it's your responsibility to think in your head, well, if I know someone that can actually help this person, maybe, maybe not, let me give it a try. And I think if you get to a point as a coach where you're so locked in your own head that you're the greatest coach ever, that you're not willing to bring in new voices, I think you might be done, you know, because, and this is what you and I have had this conversation off air before, where I wonder, in boxing, losing is such a big deal. You lose once, you went from the next great thing to, I don't know if it'll ever even be anything. And that's one time. And it's okay to lose like 17, you know, in MMA. And I'm like, in boxing, man, if you're a coach, you lose 17 in a row, you were fired after you lost the third. You know, like there is no, but in MMA it seems like it's kind of okay. It's still kind of finding itself. It's learning. And just for me, one of the things I have noticed is sometimes like even look at someone like Anna's career, and then if you look through Anna's career, look at how many different styles of coaches she's had. It's because if everybody sees the right thing, they know you got to do what's best for the athlete. You can't just sit there and go, no, I'm in charge. Like, actually, the fighters are always in charge. They're doing, you know, Frank's the boss, you know, Anna's the boss. Like, so I would say as a coach, if you forget that you're actually not the boss, you may be the leader. You may drive that training camp ship, right? But if you forget you're not the boss, that's probably when you should say, I'm out.
You know, in pro football, we'll see some coaches that had a lot of success retire or go on to analyst work and come back, and sometimes they say the game has passed them by. Like Joe Gibbs is the coach of the Washington Redskins, took them to 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
We see John Gruden's about to come back for the Raiders, and some people are afraid that may happen. In boxing and combat sports, or primarily boxing, does the sport evolve so much that that box that coaches can be, the game can pass them up?
I mean, I think like Teddy Atlas tried, right, guys? He was an analyst, and then he just went ahead and went heads up with Freddie Roach, and he lost. You know what I'm saying? Like,
when he had Bradley?
I'm trying to think which fight it was. It was.
I think he's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was against Pacquiao for sure. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, I think if you're an old coach before and you're retired, or let's say you hadn't coached for a while, but you kind of just watch the game. If you have passion for it, because look, like you're an analyst, Dan, right? How many hours of tape do you watch though when you do those things? So imagine it from our side, and I'm obsessive with this stuff. You're sitting there like we're in a video room like Moneyball, looking for like the one thing that somebody might not have seen, and then the hard part, or one of the parts that I think you have to have a good quality in when you're coaching is, all right, well, maybe me and Dan saw the same exact tell that Fedor is doing. Can I convey it, though? Can I actually convey
Have
that
you found some?
so that,
Well, all right, I'll tell you what. Let's take this break, and when we come back, maybe you can tease one. I don't know.
It'll be exciting.
That'd be ballsy. I don't know if Fedor Emelianenko's watching MMA Junkie Radio
well, he doesn't
right now,
understand English, does he?
Yeah, he can make a prediction.
All right, stay close, folks. We'll be right back. We have Angelo Reyes in the house. Also on today's show, we will be talking to Mohammed Usman, the younger, bigger brother of Kamaru Usman. We'll also be talking to Jamall Emmers, who got a win this past Friday at LFA. Sorry, Usman won't be fighting at VFC 60 in a couple weeks. So those will be our other guests, and we'll finish out a little bit here with the boxing talk and start talking Frank Mir versus Fedor Emelianenko, plus all the news that's out there in the great sport of mixed martial arts. We'll also take your calls at 866-522-2846. Stay close. We'll be right back.
That's an interesting visual.
Yeah.
As the tournament wraps up and the focus turns to spring football, SiriusXM has 3 channels dedicated to 3 of the biggest conferences in college sports. SEC Radio, that's channel 374. ACC Radio, that's channel 371. And Pac-12 Radio is channel 373. Check them out on your radio or on the SiriusXM app. Let's take this call from Marco from Waco, Texas. And then we'll find out from Angelo, see if we can give away a tell. The old Russian.
You know who
might have been hiding all these years. Marco, how's it going, buddy?
From Waco, ¿qué pasa, vatos? And Angelo.
Hey, Marco.
Hey, on that discussion you guys were having on the break, Kimbo Slash beat Ray Mercer. He choked him out, so that counts for the MMA guys too. Don't forget Kimbo. Hey.
Yeah, all right.
Angelo,
I forgot about that. And you know what?
Okay,
we'll
cool.
take that.
See,
It's
that's
even
awesome.
then. Scores even.
This is why I love Junkie Nation, man. The fans will actually correct
Great
us.
pull, Marco.
That's
Great
awesome.
And I forgot it was a submission of all things, too.
Yeah, baby.
And you really going to go farther, Royce Gracie versus the one-glove boxer. So 3-3-2. There you go.
Art Jimerson. Art Jimerson had a good career.
Well, but
yeah,
that
he had
so
one
that would
glove.
be 4 boxers though coming into MMA. So we still will need the MMA fighters to go into the boxing world. You see what I'm saying?
Hey, well,
there's a ton of those.
It's
you know what?
It's expected that a boxer should lose in a cage, and it's expected that an MMA fighter should lose in the ring. So what Marco's saying is true, but that's 4 boxers coming over and 3 of them getting their butts kicked and 1 of them winning, whereas there's yet to be an MMA fighter go into the ring and win.
So since we're on the subject anyways, and I want to hear from you guys, I won't say anything. But what do you think about, let's call it within a year from now, Frank Mir goes in the boxing ring, fights Tyson Fury?
What do we think? Like who?
Yeah,
wins?
I don't like that, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because?
I mean, 4-round exhibition, sure. If Frank's done with his MMA career, but I'd rather Frank try to become a world champion.
No. I mean, that's
in
what I'm
this
saying.
tournament.
Is a year from now he would be, if he he goes through
Wins
the
the Grand
tournament,
Prix.
he's the world champion
I'd
of
rather
Bellator.
see him defend in Bellator his belt. I don't need to see him fight Tyson Fury until his career's over. Then,
Okay.
sure, let's do it.
All right.
At that point, we'll do whatever.
Okay.
Marco?
On that subject, Tyson Fury giving a shout out to Darren Till for the Liverpool card. Pretty cool. What's up with Canelo Alvarez, man? Dude cannot get out of the cow steroids, man. Is that fight happening? Is that fight really happening? Because it's a shame, man, if they make it happen now. I mean, we took John Jones out of freaking John Jones DC2, our biggest star. We took him out. Come on, boxing. That's it, dude. Anthony Joshua versus Parker. Parker can throw a whole monkey wrench about this Deontay Wilder freaking matchup.
Can you imagine?
And I'm riding with Parker, dude. People are overlooking the guy.
He's from New Zealand, right? Okay, yeah.
He trains out of here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a Kiwi. And
Yep.
love the fact that, the UFC is offering Anthony Joshua $500 million for super boxing or whatever, and I don't think they're going to do it. But, check yourself, Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. I give you a chance versus John Jones, who will mop the floor with you. Peace out, guys.
All right.
Yeah, Marco's right. I mean,
That could ruin the party.
Joseph Parker's 24-0, 18 knockouts. I mean, this is kind of the discussion we had at Fun of Fighting where, I was saying to Frank, you don't think that, Joseph Parker, he's already fought in England on his last fight. He fought against Huey Fury, who's a huge 6'6" guy. He doesn't get scared, and it wasn't like the person that he beat to win the WBO world title didn't suck. That guy, Andy Ruiz, is very good.
Yep.
But Frank's theory is Anthony Joshua is just way too big, way too strong.
What about you? Because I was going to ask about that for someone who, unfortunately, boxing is doing amazing right now. So it's not a knock. It's just kind of with my situation. I have a hard time breaking away from MMA footage. But Joe Parker of all the guys is the guy I'm most familiar with, just because he fought a buddy of mine, Bryce Rattani. And now they're training partners out here in Vegas. But they fought each other when Joe Parker was coming up. And that's how he kind of ended up on my radar. So I've kind of watched this guy progress.
Yeah.
And so very excited for him. But you got the professional eyes. What do you think as far as the chances? Do the odds indicate his chances? Do you think a little better? I mean,
I think that if they both show up at their best, at their very best, I'm talking the Joseph Parker that take whatever it is that you saw and his very best efforts, and then you take the Anthony Joshua that fought Vladimir Klitschko, I still would pick Anthony Joshua. Now, what we don't know is because on a fight night, on any given fight night, man, it really is 50-50. You don't know what's on their mindset. You don't know an hour before the fight. You don't know what they're thinking, right? You
boxing?
No, in everything, in every.
Man, I think it depends on the matchup.
You know,
I wouldn't say every fight's 50.
When Floyd was fighting Connor, you could have
Oh,
told
no,
me
no,
that
no,
Floyd jumped off the two-story building and
I'm sorry,
landed on his belly, and I would have said,
no. I meant more like on a matchup like this. I'm sorry, in a competitive matchup where we know. Boy, it's kind of hard to pick. I certainly wouldn't make Joseph Parker or whatever ridiculous underdog he is. I mean, I would sit there and go even money, because you don't know. How do you like when you really study it? And this is going to your question. Anthony Joshua's last fight against the Calm didn't look great,
right?
But the fight before that against Klitschko. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a styles fight, right? I mean, it's like I don't know Joshua's footage that well, but I've seen enough of him to know that we've seen him overcome adversity. You just mentioned the Klitschko. That's a different kind of adversity than like what a guy like a durable Kiwi guy like Joe Parker could present. We've seen that in MMA a billion times, right? You get the durable guy like Brian Barberina. I mean, you don't think he might be the most world beater, but he's a durable guy. He's still there, and we've seen the best fighters when a guy's just still there. That can do a lot to a guy sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, guys. If this goes 12. Then there's definitely a chance Joseph Parker pulls off the upset. And he would still be the undefeated heavyweight, guys.
Yeah.
So I think if Joseph Parker wins, Eddie Hearn in Matchroom boxing promotions over there in the UK, he's so smart and in promoting boxing that I think that it would be like Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
hey, look at you.
Well, I'm just saying, baby, Loyola Chicago, my brother, Mike Cavalon, that's his graduating. He graduated from Loyola Chicago, and the Ramblers, baby. That's who we're pulling for. Sister Jean, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Hey, they have a chance, man. That's for sure.
All right, Ramblers, let's get rambling. Sorry.
So let's start to put boxing to bed because we are going to talk some MMA in the second hour, and of course we still want to talk Mir and Emelianenko. But to finish out, we'll do today's daily debate, and here's what the poll question is for today. With talks of Floyd Mayweather and Anthony Joshua each fighting under the UFC banner, which octagon debut do you feel is the most likely? Your choices are Floyd Mayweather, Anthony Joshua, or neither. Angelo?
Yeah, I don't see. Are we talking this year or ever?
Well, to be fair, let's just
give me a timeline.
About 12 months from now.
Let's say
12 months from now. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think anyone.
I mean, even rest of this year and all of next year.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, goes.
I'm gonna go with neither as well. I just feel like it'd have to be ridiculous amount of money to get one of these high-level athletes to basically come in and get beat up.
Yeah,
is what it comes down to. I don't think either one is willing to do that. But I'm also the guy that said Conor will never fight Floyd, so who knows?
Dan?
Like many people, my Floyd Mayweather thermometer is broken, whether it just bursted from the inside or maybe I threw it on the ground at a certain point in time. Selfishly, I'd love to see Anthony Joshua fight. There's a lot of fun matchups we could put him in. You could maybe entice a heavyweight Rumble Johnson to come back. You can have some fun fights there. But I see Anthony Joshua doing too well in boxing for them to let him go. I got to vote neither here too, guys.
Yeah, they make a lot of money over there, especially those two. Joshua's on his way to really starting to break the bank, and of course Floyd's been doing that for years. So I don't think either one is likely. However, of the two, I would say it would be Floyd, and it would be not the Conor McGregor fight that everyone keeps talking about. I actually think the CM Punk angle, something like that.
Yep.
And if it happens, I guess what are you gonna do? I mean, they're giving Punk a fight, so we might as well give him someone else and not disrupt another welterweight's trajectory.
So here's one for you then. If Floyd does fight CM Punk, would you consider it a legitimate win if Floyd beats him?
No.
Okay, see, that was my other
question. I don't want to disrespect the guy.
To
me, that's not MMA versus boxing. That's boxing versus a guy who's competed in MMA.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. That's why I want to ask the experts.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. All right, there you have it, folks. That's today's daily debate with boxing coach Angelo Reyes. All right, let's take our next break of the first hour. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. This time for sure we'll get some of that intel that Angelo's trying to hide over there. He teased it, but now we're going to get it out of him when we come back because his prize pupil, Frank Mir, will be fighting Fedor Emelianenko in about 1 month's time, and that'll be the third quarterfinal in the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. Remember, Chael Sonnen's already advanced, Matt Mitrione's advanced. Still left is Ryan Bader versus King Mo and the aforementioned matchup of Mir versus Emelianenko. So we'll talk about that when we come back after these breaks.
Large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and goes, thank you.
Opening day in Major League Baseball is this Thursday. Listen to MLB Network Radio all season long for your play-by-play of the top games, manager interviews, and inside analysis of your favorite team. The baseball season is here, and MLB Network Radio is your home for it every day on Sirius 209, XM89, and on the Sirius XM app. All right, Angelo, spill the beans. What have you spotted in Fedor's game that you think you might be able to exploit?
No, man, Fedor's Fedor. He's the MMA analyst. Can I ask you, have you even done the review on this one yet? Fedor Mir, or you haven't done the sit down, let me really look through it?
I haven't. Sorry, I haven't done the sit down and really looked through it yet. I haven't seen where the odds are currently posted. I gotta
imagine
it's
minus 155 for Frank.
Okay, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was around the minus 200 even. Not saying that Fedor's a legend. You know what I'm saying? Like you put him in there 50-50. Obviously, but we're talking about an odds perspective. That doesn't sound out of the park for me. I definitely would favor Frank going in. And yeah, the ground, I'll let you, I don't want to steal the beans. I want to hear what you have to say, sir. But the ground does intrigue me, and you tell me what you think.
Yeah, no.
Because guys evolve differently, right? And we'll see a lot of guys, they'll have the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu career doesn't translate in MMA. Or maybe it does translate in MMA, but as they get older, they fall in love with the knockout, or they don't evolve on the ground. Whereas Frank, from beginning to end, to as big or even as the competition got bigger in name, his submission skills have kind of always been there, obviously, right?
Yeah, he's submitted everybody in every form of submission you could think of throughout his career. He really is. I mean, with Frank, it's fun, because when I first started working with him, I had to spend, kind of like what you do, spend the time to really study throughout his career. And
right.
When it comes to submissions, I mean, Jesus, guys, Frank's like the Floyd Mayweather of that game.
We know his defense is going to be top notch because you did an excellent job of deflecting George's question. You want to ask that question again?
What are we seeing out of Fedor?
It was a tennis match. We went to Angelo and to Dan.
I was trying to answer Dan's question, but all right, okay, all right. Look, guys, Fedor is Fedor. I didn't like that even when I got the assignment. Frank called me. I was in the Bay Area. It was before Thanksgiving. And I started to do my research. I already didn't like that. I think the first set of odds that came out, Frank was like the 4-1 favorite. And in my head, I was thinking, is anyone like actually doing research? Because Frank hasn't been back in action for 2 years. By the time they fight, it would have been over 2 years. Fedor is on a freaking 6-fight win streak, and actually, had he not gotten caught by Mitrione, and it didn't end up happening that way, I kind of felt like Fedor was going to beat Mitrione, which would have made him on a 7-fight win streak. So anything that pretty much says that Fedor isn't the favorite, I wasn't really listening to. And again, it's one of these things where you could say, if you're going to do the whole comment of, well, on paper, well, then do your research, guys. Because on paper, Frank Mir hasn't fought in 2 years. So on paper, Frank should be the underdog, like 100%. He shouldn't be the heavy favorite. I get it. I understand why, but I'm just saying that. And then when you study Fedor, I can argue that Fedor's a better. Okay, so this is going to be kind of loaded when I say it, and then you're going to have some of the fans go, that guy's crazy. But I actually think in a lot of ways Fedor's a better fighter now than he was back then, and I'll tell you why.
That guy's crazy.
Right. I'm just saying that I think I think that he knows the type of body he has now, and I think that he's smarter. I think his timing is a hell of a lot better. And I think punching power-wise and hand speed, he's faster, man. I mean, I know what everybody's going. Oh, look at the Pride days. Okay, look, guys, Pride that was in a rope, right? Like totally different dimensions, totally different game, totally different rules. Like the first round was 10 minutes, right? So look, you can't compare that. So let's compare apples to apples then. Let's go cage to cage, right? When you go cage to cage, I don't know. I think that the Fedor that I've been seeing, he's especially over the last 7 fights, they definitely did a great job. His coach, who I was with his coach in Connecticut recently for Bellator 194. That's the same coach as Nemkov.
Yeah.
So
right.
So yeah, Fedor's awesome, man. Fedor is amazing.
The only problem, Angelo, is our next guest is until 11:20, so we still got 20 more minutes to try and get an answer out of you.
God damn it.
To get a tell out of him. That was no tell right there, right?
No.
It was just the history of Fedor and when he was better and when he wasn't.
Oh, my God.
Rules of Pride
I tried.
versus UFC.
Yeah. All right, folks. Listen, in the second hour, we will have Jamall Emmers on the show. He got a win at LFA this past weekend. He's got a win over one of my favorite fighters, that Corey Sandhagen guy that just made it into the UFC. He's the truth, man. He's 13-3 and looking to get the call up soon. Also, we will be talking to Mohammed Usman, who is the younger, bigger brother of Kamaru Usman. 3-0 right now so far in mixed martial arts, looking to go 4-0. He'll be fighting at VFC 60. That's Victory Fighting Championship 60. So that'll be later in the second hour. We still have some time to take your calls and press Angelo a little bit more over here and talk about the latest news. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. tells me Dan Tom chose this song.
Nah,
Yeah, is that you, Dan?
negative. I haven't heard it in a while. Yeah, I haven't heard it in a while.
That was
They play this in the beginning of that Dennis Leary of that fire department
do you know the name of the
TV
band,
show.
How
No.
about you, Danny?
Von Bondi's.
Bon, never heard of
Was
it.
it
Today are bands that start with the letter V.
Ah, okay.
Rescue Me? Was that show? Wasn't it they play at the beginning? Rescue Me was in the show.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
saw that
Yeah,
show. I
all
heard
right.
it's good. Though.
I get like quarter point for that then, right?
All right, let's talk to Hal in Chicago. And if you want to follow Hal, it's 866-522-2846. Got Angelo Reyes in the house. What's up, Hal? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing, Angelo?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, man. I'm gonna be there at that card in Chicago.
Oh, that's
Looking
awesome.
forward to it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The legend.
Yeah, both of them.
Absolutely, man. This is the closest thing we're gonna get to like Rocky IV. Did you see that? Did you see Rocky IV?
Yes, yeah, of course.
This is it. You are carrying America on your shoulders, my friend. We got to take out the Russians.
Well, it's not me. It's
This is,
Frank,
I
but
hope-
yes. Yeah.
I hope that you're playing There's No Easy Way Out during his training sessions.
Hey, you going to
And,
promote out Charleston and all that?
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah,
All
make
right.
sure Frank goes on a drive by himself,
Okay,
after he argues with his wife.
I'll say this to Hal right now. Make sure you guys tune in to the Bellator, behind the scenes episode, 3-part episode, because you guys will see some fun stuff that we've been doing in this training camp. And I'll just say that because you're so into the Rocky IV movie.
I like when they're playing chess. That's like the hidden part of that whole montage.
Right.
And he just goes, "Checkmate, comrade," or something like that. It's so funny.
I'm just picturing Angelo Reyes as Tony Burton now, and thanks to Hal, like he just looks like he's Apollo Creed's trainer, the same guy, because that's the guy who
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, that's Angelo now. All right.
So Dan, if we get to the second round, do you want me to say something like, "See, Frank, he's bleeding. You're more man than him."
Do it.
As long as it's
Yeah.
that and not
Yeah.
the beginning of Rocky IV where it's stop the damn fight.
You remember when Nate Corey did the speech from Rocky IV, didn't he?
Yeah.
After
Did he
win?
really?
Yeah,
he
he
did the whole
did.
speech.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
If I could change,
Hit the one in the middle.
you could change.
Hit the one in the middle. Yes. Now I'm going to try a technique I try with some of my clients when they don't want to talk to me.
Uh-oh.
Angelo, so what you're telling me is you have no idea how to approach Fedor, is what you're saying. Like, you have no clue of any openings that he has. Is that what you're telling me?
Okay, look. Okay, all right. God damn it, guys. Okay. All right, Junkie Nation. Look, first of all, I want to say that,
I don't think you should do it.
okay.
I want you to do it, but I think about it, and I don't know. I just don't think you should do it.
Okay.
All right,
Can I just?
all
Can
right.
I, okay, I'll just say. I'll just say
All
this
right.
then. I'll just say this. If all of you guys who are wondering, should you watch this fight? I can tell you right now that this fight will end up in a finish, and a lot of the reasons why for it is the team that Frank has. We have James Horn in there, who you guys should look him up, man. The sneaker black belt on Instagram. James Horn has been with Frank for so long, and he really keeps Frank's submissions very sharp. And this guy, and James Horn is a hell of a jiu-jitsu player. You guys got, just go to the sneaker black belt on Instagram and check it out. That's Frank's #1 man. And he's one of the coaches, and he's been with us. I mean, he was with us in Brazil when he knocked out, Bigfoot Silva, and he's with us on every single fight, so you can't miss him. He's like 6'7". So look up James Horn. So he's in there. Robert Drysdale, he's in there. I'm in there. So you're looking at a very solid team of coaches who have known Frank and has been with Frank and is a part of Frank's family. So there's that, right? So that's solid. There's some new guys in there. Adrian Ramirez is his strength conditioning coach, and he's really, that was the question, right? Like earlier in the year, blah, 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 Frank looks so big. It's like, guys, relax.
Well, I never said that.
Oh, no, not you. I'm just saying, there's a bunch
I
of
actually
people.
get tricked because when I see Frank in public, he always looks thinner because he dresses pretty sharp. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I'll
and he
give you
looks
the
thinner, and I always
look.
go, "Hey, it looks like you're going to
Look.
come in a little bit lower." And then he steps on the scale, It's usually the 260 mark.
Well, I mean, just as from my mouth, I'm telling you. I mean, we check his weights all the time. As of last week, before this morning, it was 268. So, guys, relax. All right.
Well, what
he's gonna
250 Frank was pretty terrifying.
No,
though,
see,
right?
I don't even want to already give you that. I'm trying not to give away so many different things, but don't be surprised. Well, don't be surprised if you see a very fast, very fast, very light Frank Mir.
Why is there a Russian guy taking notes next to the studio?
Yeah,
here,
and here's the thing. Well, I'll let Hal finish his call. Hal, what's going on?
I'll predict basically uppercut Frank because Fedor never got past that. He loves to duck and then throw that overhand right, follow with the left hook. I think that after that right, he's going to duck under and hit that uppercut, and that's going to be it. So good luck.
Thank you, Hal.
All right, Hal. Thanks for the call. You know what? So we actually got either asked about it or somehow we got on this topic. Here's what I believe. Frank hasn't fought in 2 years. I know that he has made some money through either in appearances or through announcing gigs. But the bottom line is he'll get paid substantially more by fighting. And this is a tournament that he's in. So we already know that should he beat Fedor Emelianenko, the next opponent is probably coming up this summer. And then there'll be a finals by the end of the year. That's what Bellator wants to do, is finish this thing out. Yeah. Now he's become a world champion. Think about how marketable it would be to say, I'm a former UFC champ and the current Bellator champ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I believe that Frank is going to be strategic in this fight. And I believe that there's, Fedor's not a straight puncher. So you got to press up right through his chest, you know what I mean? And either get him down or just get him in close quarters. When there's spacing is when Fedor is going to be more dangerous. And he can either lead the dance or counter you. He's very dangerous with the lead left hook, which is so unorthodox. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. He just kind of bounces, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's a lead left hook that's very dangerous. Frank also is more of, I guess, a plotter, and I don't mean to be insulting in that regard. He's just not light on his feet, like, for example, how Mitrione was. And so, therefore, I don't think he should be a stationary target for someone like Fedor. I basically just think he should go right through the middle and either take him to the ground and submit him, get out of there unscathed. Why should there be any form of a setback from a broken hand or anything like that, now that you can't fight in the semifinal and all of a sudden they start to bring in their alternates? Get in there, cash your check, defeat the champion. If it's a vicious submission, it's a vicious submission. But the more that they stand, the more you just got to believe that's when it's more of a 50-50 fight. You know what I mean?
I agree, and I didn't want to press Angelo too hard because I didn't want to cut right to it. But, not playing dumb for a second, I mean, yeah, to be honest, I agree 100% with George. It comes down to pressure, whether you want to strike with Fedor or grapple. We've seen it. It's pressure. You can't let a guy like that get in his rhythm. You can't let him lead the dance. You can't let him let you lead because he's waiting for you to counter and get into those games. So for me, if I was breaking down this matchup or breaking down what Frank's going to do from an opponent perspective or as an analyst perspective, I'm like, okay, pressure and clinch. That's what I want to see what Frank has planned for this fight. Because regardless of whether Frank wants to, because let's not forget, when Frank, especially when he was still working from a southpaw stance, he actually could be. We actually have seen him do more mobile things too. There's a lot of Frank's a flexible fighter in the sense of his skills and just his abilities, right? Physical abilities to actual skills. So technically, Frank could really take it in a lot of different places. I think it's just going to come down to how he approaches the pressure. There's a lot of different ways to define pressure. And what he wants to do in the clinch. A lot of different things Frank can do in the clinch and Fedor can do.
Yeah, no, and I would love it if more analysts and more media people did it like how you guys are doing it right now. Because there is so many storylines to how this fight can end up. Frank Mir really is a 5-tool player, guys. I mean, he could beat you in every single way. He could beat you in – we haven't even seen him beat people in kicks, again, don't be surprised if you see a lot of kicks coming from a Frank Mir on this one.
To finish the combo, hopefully not just a kick by itself.
You might be surprised at some of the things we've been working on. But when people say, oh, man, well, Frank should grab this guy and take him down and clinch, it's a loaded statement because Fedor is one of the hardest people to take down. He's not easy to take down.
He's got great hips.
And he's got and when we talk about, well, you got to pressure Fedor because spacing. Yeah, you know why Fedor is really good at spacing? Because he actually understands timing. He understands distance. So just when you think you're getting there, you're not. So let's go back to that last fight. Did Mitrione try to pressure him? No. Mitrione was the one backing up. Did Mitrione try to get him in a clinch? No. So who won the fight? Exactly.
Yeah,
so
but he was this close to losing, too.
That's what I'm saying,
That
though.
wasn't a brilliant game plan that was executed.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that this fight could literally go any direction. So when you right away you say, oh, I think Frank should come forward and clinch him and grab him, it's like, well, how do you know it doesn't end up like the Mitrione fight? Where Frank just hits him with a right hook and then submits him. You know, like, I don't know. You know, like, so when you guys are asking me what tells, I'm seeing the same tells that Dan's seeing, that you're seeing. You guys have watched Fedor for all the years, so it's not like people don't already know. And I think that's what made this fight fun. I think to me, for MMA, because MMA's only been around for, what is it now, like 26 years, right? It's like the Mayweather-Pacquiao of MMA. It's the fight we always wanted to see. Never happened. They're doing it now at a latter stage of their life. But they're both still kind of equal in that sense. So it'll be fun to see what happens now.
And not just, and in Angelo's defense, not just sounds like he's like hyping his own guy, because this is something true that I've noticed. It's so easy to go in that trend where, okay, a guy, he's just here. You can say he's just here for money, for this, whether for this fight, this whatever narrative you want to place on. It's so easy to be like, this guy's age, right? We see all these stereotypes and we throw in these fighters, right? But you know, then you'll see Chael Sonnen's last fight.
Yeah.
Did that impress you?
Yes.
He came out moving light on his feet, southpaw rolling under it. Like, I mean, he's had underrated striking before. People don't give him credit, but we saw an improved version in an older Chael.
Yes, and believe me, I mean, again, my mind is wrapped on Fedor. I get like this. You know this about me, Dan. I get very like pit bull like whenever I have the actual opponent in front of me. So I'm studying it like crazy. But don't think in your head that I haven't already started thinking about Chael just even a little bit. And Chael was very impressive. I'm glad I was there cage side to see it. I love, and Chael's he's an IQ person, you know, so he's still dangerous when it comes to from the wrestling standpoint. And he is still a big guy. He's still over 200 pounds. And again, man, when people go, well, he doesn't punch as hard, how do you know he couldn't hurt Fedor? You know what I mean? Like Maldonado knocked Fedor down with a left hook.
Right.
And Chael is every bit as big as Maldonado is, and Chael's got better wrestling. So if we watched the Maldonado-Fedor fight, but that was actually Chael.
But see, that's one of thousands of punches that Chael could so Chael could do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But he's thrown thousands that have also shown us that he doesn't have that type of power.
But here's where I think the Bellator tournament is very fun, and this is why I like it. Because the fighters know their matchups ahead of time, every fight you see, it's like March Madness.
Yeah.
People are training for that specific fighter. So when you see Frank fight Fedor, just remember we were training specifically for Fedor style. Now we got to train for Chael style, which is completely different. You know, it's not the same. It's a lefty. Now it would be a southpaw. Like, what do you do? Does Frank go righty? Like, what do you do, right? So, I don't know. I mean, you don't even know what Frank's going to do on the next fight. Is he going righty? Is he going lefty? You know, is he going to put the pressure on like you guys are talking about, grab him and take him down? Is Fedor going to back up? Like, I don't know. That's why you should tune in. You should watch it.
I won't give it away on the air.
Okay.
But you see what I'm watching on my screen.
Yeah, all right.
That's how I think it's going to end.
Okay, so you think that Frank's going to get caught like that?
No, the other way around.
Oh, okay. You think
you think I would tell you that like that?
Okay, all right. I don't know. I'm used to the boxing world where people look at you in the face and go,
I think
I thought you lost the fight.
I think that's how he's going to catch Fedor.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Damn it, go. Stop it.
I'm just
Stop
saying,
analyzing it right in
go
front
down.
of people.
That's funny.
What a dick
You were
move,
basically
Bob.
saying your guy's going to get fucking lit up.
So is that what you're saying, Goes?
And I picked probably one of your favorite fighters to demonstrate that to you.
Yes.
The funny part is Ghost probably didn't play a fight. He probably played a part from a 1980s movie for people that are listening. So it's you have to guess what he just played.
You know what? I did tell him I'm being edgy in 2018,
Okay.
so maybe he thought, all right.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
That's
edgy goes.
Yeah, edgy goes, telling me to my face. I think your guy's going to get knocked out. Okay, thank you.
That's funny. Well, you know, you're mid-camp, and there's not much longer to go.
Yeah.
What about the question you're going to get a lot? You might as well start now.
Okay.
Cage rust.
Yeah, that's a real factor. That's a 100% real factor. And I mean, I'd love to give you guys a great answer for it, but I guess I won't know either until he actually is in there. Remember, bright lights, big stage, it's all different. What I can tell you is you could always hang on a hook that Frank Mir has been one of the legends of the sport, and he's such a professional that I've seen Frank in different scenarios now, personally, where when that cage door locks, man, he's a fucking animal. He's still Frank Mir. So never forget that the brain in Frank's head is still Frank Mir. And when the cage door locks, it's just Fedor and Mir. That's it. So, and I actually think that's why this is going to be such an exciting fight. I think that Fedor has a lot to prove. I think that Fedor's pissed that he lost to Mitrione. And I think that Fedor trained his ass off to beat Mitrione, and a stupid fluke-type win, a stupid fluke-type move happened in order for him to lose. Now he's put all that energy and desire into beating the hell out of a Frank Mir. And you have to remember, it's the other way around too. Isn't like Fedor friends with Putin or something? You know how big of a deal it would be in Russia for Fedor to put away the greatest heavyweight, so to speak, in MMA American history, has all the statistics in the UFC, most finishes. I mean, and Fedor puts it away. So trust me, guys, man, Fedor's got an entire country putting money into him to back him, to beat Frank. So this is a little bit like Rocky IV, I'm sure Fedor's running in some machines, and I don't know.
No, he didn't have the Drago body.
Oh,
But
okay.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius 67 Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll be talking to Jamall Emmers from LFA.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Fantasy baseball season starts Thursday, and SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio can help you win. Whether you need advice to prepare for your draft or need help in setting up your lineup, their fantasy football analysts have the information you need, from news about the injuries and position battles to player projections, draft strategy, and interviews with people closest to the game. Everything you need to win your fantasy baseball league can be heard on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. It's Sirius 210, XM87, and on the SiriusXM app. Just search Fantasy Sports. All right, folks, we're going to move on to our next guest of the day. Pretty boy Jamall Emmers is going to join us. He's 13-3 overall. He's coming off a win at LFA 36 this past Friday night out in Morongo, California. He is now riding a streak of 4 straight wins, and he joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Jamall? How you doing? Jamall, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, my man. Thanks for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. Not only are you on a 4-fight win streak, you got 2 wins that I really, really like seeing on somebody's resume. Chris Avila and Corey Sandhagen, 2 guys that are UFC veterans. Now, Avila's no longer there, but he was there. He had his fair share of fights, and then he's no longer there. But Sandhagen's a guy that just recently came in and had a nice debut. So if you got a win over him, I'm listening.
Yeah, those are two tough opponents. Like I was very happy that Corey got the call. Like I was like, wow, that was amazing to me. Like how he bounced back off a loss like that and got 2 straight wins and got the call. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I was real happy for him.
Man, that says a lot about you, because this sport, a lot of the athletes can be selfish, okay, in the way they act or the way they talk. And I get it. It's an individual sport. It's not a team sport. You only have a certain amount of fights you can have before your career's over. And you put your body, through the ringer, you know what I mean, so that you can entertain, millions at home and thousands in the arena. So for you to say that shows a lot of class, you being happy over a guy that you fought and not having any sort of feelings like, hey, how come I didn't get there first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at it like that. Like, I mean, he got there before me. It is what it is. That's life. Like, sometimes, that's how it works out. Like, I mean, I don't feel no type of way about it. It is what it is.
Do you root for your former opponents in any way once you're done and everything's settled? Do you win or lose? Do you root for them?
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Always.
I wasn't sure because you're making it sound like it's automatic, but I don't think Damian Maia is going to root for Colby Covington in his next fight. So it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, I mean, but it's different when like we both show respect to each other. It's like we respect each other. It's not like, oh, he talked trash about me or like something like that, said something bad about my mom. Like we showed each other respect. So like I feel like hey, we pretty much blood brothers. We share blood and sweat in the cage. So win, lose, or draw, like I feel like I like to see people do good. Like it feels good to me to know other people doing good. So like, I mean, for him to get the call to the UFC, I was like, then he won. I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool. And who else got the call was Ricky Simone, who headlined the same event you were on. So your thoughts on that, and also have you gotten a call or do you anticipate a call after your most recent win, which is 4 in a row? It's also 6 out of your last 7, and in your last 14 fights, you're 12-2.
I mean, that's good for him that he got the call. I heard he got it like right after they called him right after, and he got the call. So, like, I'm happy for him. Hopefully, I get my call next. But if not, I'll just keep grinding.
This was a beautiful KO finish, and I know this happens a lot. I don't know if it happened to you. A lot of people, will ask about the decisions, their wins. Any win in MMA is great, but obviously it's not the same as the finishes. And you just got yourself a really, really highlight reel finish. How did that feel? And did it feel much different from the other wins where you've maybe decision fighters, you know, here in this last win streak that you've been on?
I mean, it felt good to get the finish. Like, for me, I think the reason why I got the finish because like I made up my mind like I was going to finish them. Like I read in like certain articles people wrote like, oh, I don't finish, I don't have power, stuff like that. So I was like that fueled me a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this guy. You know, and from what I understand, like I heard he was like a great a good stand-up fighter. Like I heard he was like 23-1 in Muay Thai and stuff like that. So like I kind of had a chip on my shoulder a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I was really, you know, looking for that finish so I can like shut a few people up.
You certainly did that, man. It was very, very artistic. I really, really enjoyed the highlights. Folks, on MMA Junkie, we put out the highlights every week when LFA does have a fight card. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. There's really, really some great finishes on that fight card. And not including, of course, the controversial one that we talked about with Drew Chapman, I believe his name was. Notwithstanding that, check out the highlights video, and you'll see some really, really top-notch action at LFA 36. All right, Goes, what do you have for Jamall Emmers?
Jamall, your weight class, I mean, there are killers in that weight class, and it survives the test of time. It's just constantly filled with a lot of top-level athletes. Do you ever feel like that's where you're going to end your career, or do you feel like you'll grow out of it or even maybe go lower if the opportunity arose?
I might grow out of it. I'm starting to see the older I get, I'm starting to like develop more. Like I guess I'm a man now. So I'm starting to see like a lot of changes in my body. I mean, I'm probably later in my career, I'll probably go up towards the tail end, but for now I'm like stuck at 45. Like I feel comfortable at 45.
The losses that you have are spread out. Okay, is there one common factor that you can point to from the 3 losses, or were they all just kind of separate situations?
Well, the last 2 were like I'm gonna say this. I think they all separate situations. The fight with Thiago Moises, I took that fight on short notice, like 5 days before the fight. So I wasn't even training for that. That just the opportunity came and I jumped on it. The fight before that, I want to say I probably lost focus. I think I was like on the 6-fight win streak or something like that, and I was like, I figured like, I'm gonna just run through this guy. I don't really have to train too hard, but I mean that was a lesson learned. And then my first loss, that's controversial. A lot of people came up to me and said, "No, I thought you won that fight." But sometimes you leave it in the hands of the judges. That's how it goes. So, I mean, it's just all learning experiences, you know.
Hey, 100%. Jamall, I'm looking you train here at Pinnacle MMA, and that caught my attention because, you know, I associated it with names like Bobby Green and whatnot. But looking on your Instagram, it looks like you do some teaching there as well?
Yes, I'm a wrestling coach and jiu-jitsu coach.
That's awesome, man. And I see you're working with kids as well there.
Yes.
Now, I've done a bit of coaching kids myself through different martial arts, and I found a lot of benefits, whether it was within the martial arts world or other parts of my life. Are you finding a lot of those benefits, whether it's, you know, communicating or just articulating techniques to others?
Yeah, I find a lot of good benefits from teaching. It helps me. It sharpens my technique for sure. Another benefit, I get to see like the kids grow from it. Like we have kids, I remember when they come in, they didn't talk, like too shy to talk, didn't say hi, anything. and now they starting to come out their shell. So for me, like that makes me feel good to see a kid from day one to month 6, and they like a different kid. Like some kids come in there, they just got low self-esteem, like they just body posture is just like all just like don't hurt me type. And some kids chubby, like I see like the kids' bodies start to change, and I was like, oh, I'm doing my job. I'm doing something good now. Like I'm leaving a good impression on like the young kids. So I mean that I like that. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, man. You know, the self-confidence of those little things, that's definitely the unspoken, you know, victories there. But then, you know, if they stick with it long enough, they'll start hitting things like a triangle choke, and then that'll really make you kind of reflect, like, whoa, how long have I been teaching you this? So that's awesome to hear, Jamall. Is there anybody else there at Pinnacle MMA as far as maybe who's teaching you and helping you, coaches, training partners, anybody that you can shout out that's been helping you learn on this journey so far?
Oh yeah, my head coach Jake Bainey, like he's the man. Like he put so much time and effort into me, it's just ridiculous. I love the guy so much, it's crazy. Like you think we was like related. Like the way he treats me like I'm his little brother. And like for him to do that, it's just amazing. Because he didn't have to do it, but he did it. So like he's like my number one guy. Like I get as much knowledge as I can from, like, ask questions, like everything, even if it's not about martial arts or MMA. Like I just ask him life questions, you know, and like I know I can get like a good answer from him. Like he's a guy I really look up to in the mind.
Our co-host for the day, Angelo Reyes, has a question for you. Go ahead, Angelo. What do you have for Jamall?
Man, I was just thinking more how close how close are you to thinking you might want to go to a place like a Bellator or a UFC?
I'm pretty close. I think my next fight should be in one of those organizations.
I think so too.
So.
Who would you want to fight? See that? So then that's because this is where I think.
Two-part?
No, it's a two-part because this, right? I think with fighters nowadays, especially with the way media works, you guys, I know that. Okay, like as an example, help me out, guys. Who is it? Christina Williams that just beat Emily Ducati?
I believe so.
Right, in Bellator.
Yep.
And then, you know, she came off of that win with Heather Hardy, and they got a lot of hits.
Yeah.
And then she beats Emily Ducati, who just fought for the title. I get that Christina Williams' personality is very humble, and that's great, and that's going to be great for her in her entire career. And this is me by no means trying to tell her how to be. Mm-hmm. But would you agree, George goes, that if Christina Williams, after the Ducati fight, would have said something on mic like, look, man, what else do you guys want? I beat one of the best boxers out there right now. I beat the girl who just fought Elimale for the title, so she's like number 2 in the whole Bellator flyweight organization. Man, I want my shot.
Closed mouths don't get fed. You're right.
Yeah, so that's why I want our guy here to say to us, like, well, okay, you want to go to Bellator. Who do you want to fight?
Yeah, well, I don't know how much Jamall Emmers listens to our show, but we just had a 145er at Bellator, Taiwan Claxton, calling for a fight, looking to get booked just on our show last week. And you know, speaking on this media stuff, I don't know what you think, Jamall, but I like you know, whether you agree with it or not, I believe, you know, fighting should be first, but I don't see why only the big fighters can use headlines. I think that there should be an equal playing field to get you where you want to be.
Yeah, that's how Mick.
Right.
I'll let Jamall answer. Sorry, but yeah, go ahead, Jamall.
Sorry.
Well, like coming from a fighter standpoint, it's like I understand why they say they'll fight in, like they'll say, oh, whoever the promotion want me to fight next, because like for me, I love fighting so much it doesn't matter. Like if they was to tell me, oh, fight at 70, I will fight at 70. I love fighting so much. So when fighters usually say that, it really don't matter who they fight. They genuinely don't care. Like the passion for fighting is so big. Well, if they was to say fight your mom in the closet for $20, all right. Well, I'm with my mom's blood, I guess. like fighters, like if you're a fighter and you just love fighting, like it doesn't matter who it is. Like that's the thing. Like when fighters say like some fighters want big money fights. Like, I understand that, but for the most part, like, they just really love to fight. Like,
so let me tell you
so
something, Jamall. Let me jump in here for a second. What you're saying is true, but you're gonna hit a point where, do you have kids already or no?
No, I don't have any kids.
All right. Well, you may one day, or your body's not gonna react like it once was, and then you're gonna look back and say, "Oh, did I prepare myself for the next facet?" And so we've recognized that years ago, and what we've noticed is the fighters that do try and kind of carve their own way, you know, pave their own path, are the ones that tend to get the most popularity and the most pop, and those are the ones the promoters want to, you know, promote. And so what'll happen is, let's say the UFC calls you right now, and because you're so easygoing, they'll be like, okay, you're fighting in Perth, Australia. You're on Fight Pass, and your fight's at 7 a.m. because of the time difference, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm excited to be there, blah, blah, blah. You'll do it once, and maybe the next time they're sending you to Poland or whatever. But at some point, you're going to be like, fuck, I want to fight in Vegas, and I want to be on the main card of a pay-per-view, you know. And so the way you do that is you got to dictate your terms a little bit. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be fake, but if there really is some things that you want, start demanding them. There's really nothing wrong with it. No one will think you're a jerk for doing it. So that's just finding the balance between that. And so we always try and give the fighters that platform because, you know, like I say, you only have a certain amount of walks that you can make to the cage and back. It can all end right, you know, pretty quick. It can be a losing streak that takes you out, an injury, far worse than that. I won't mention it, but, you know, so many things. And so that's why we feel like, hey, man, when you're cracking, you're cracking. Right now, you're coming off a highlight reel KO. I'm hoping that you want to get to the UFC. I feel like you could almost do the same thing Curtis Millender did. I went in December. I sat in Costa Mesa, California, and I watched Curtis Millender take out his opponent. And he did a couple interviews with us, probably a few more, you know, on other websites. Next thing you know, he gets the call. He fights Thiago Alves, and then boom. I mean, look at that. The difference between Curtis Millender 4 months ago and Curtis Millender right now is twofold. You know what I mean? And the opportunities are out there, brother. So that's all. We don't mean to be pushy.
I understand.
Cool. Now listen, last question. We'll go out on good terms. What's the best burger out there? Burgers have been a big talk in our Facebook chat and on our show, and some people are saying In-N-Out. Other people are saying Whataburger. Some people are saying Five Guys. But how about you, man? What's your personal favorite?
Personal favorite. Okay, it's this burger place in Redlands, California called Eureka Burger, right? And it's like a gourmet burger spot. They got the best cowboy burger like ever. Like,
Cowboy burger.
Cowboy burger. What's a cowboy burger?
You got my attention.
So
like a Western bacon from Carl's or something like that? That like type of hickory sauce or tangy sauce?
All right. So how they do it, I don't know what kind of barbecue sauce or how they mix it, but they put barbecue sauce on there, fried onion rings, and bacon, and cheese. And it's like the best thing I ever tasted. Like I gotta say, out of all the burgers I ate in my life, that's probably number one.
You know, Goz and I, we have to go back to California for Easter. Maybe we'll stop on. It's on our way.
You're gonna go to Eureka?
No, it's in Redlands. It's called Eureka Burger.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Maybe if we look it up and we're into it, we might have to just taste this burger.
I like me a burger.
Yeah.
All right, my man. Hey, it's been great getting to know you. Really cool what you said about Corey. The work with your kids, admirable. I can't say enough about that. You made fans here today, man. At least from us four and all of our, hopefully all of our listeners. So thank you very much for sharing some time with us here on the show today.
So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, Jamall. Take care. Have a nice day.
All right, you too.
See ya. All right, folks. That is Jamall Emmers. We are going to take this quick break, and then we will come back with Mohammed Usman. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93.
You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
As the tournament wraps up and the focus turns to spring football, SiriusXM has 3 channels dedicated to 3 of the biggest conferences in college sports. SEC Radio, where Alabama has ruled for the last 10 years, it seems like, but other than that, there ain't much. That's channel 374. ACC Radio, you know, the ACC used to be pretty strong with the hoops back in the day. They're on channel 371. They haven't done much with the football on the football side, though, with the exception, I think, Clemson.
Yeah.
Pac-12 Radio, the home of 3 universities that have the most national championships. 1, 2, and 3, USC, Stanford, and UCLA. They're on channel 373. Check them out on your radio or on the SiriusXM app. All right, we are now going to go to our next guest, Mohammed Usman, who's got a fight coming up at VFC 60. VFC 60 is coming up here in mid-April. He will be slotted in the co-main event slot. He's 3-0 overall. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Mohammed? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, look at you. You know, I think we had you when you were 1-0, and you snuck 2 quick ones in there in 2017, and here you're going for your 4th straight win. How are you feeling now? Now we can talk to you about a little bit more of a seasoned professional versus a debut guy.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling good, man. I'm actually in the best shape that I've ever been in all my fights. You know what I mean? I mean, every fight at this point on is the biggest fight of my life. So I made sure that I dotted all my, dotted all my T's, put all my I's in my T's, and then make sure that I'm in the best shape of my life for this fight.
Well, you never really struck me as being out of shape. Like, what's this?
No, never. But now I'll be able to showcase more of my skills, my skill set. You know, like I cut down. I shed about another 10 pounds. I got down to 250. You know, I got down to 250 from around like 265, 260. So I'm feeling good. My cardio is where it needs to be. So I'm ready. I'm ready for everybody.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Was it more of a baby fat thing, or you were talking about your cardio? But it sounds like you addressed them both.
Nah, yeah, I just not necessarily baby fat, but just when your body performs the best at what weight, at what weight and what speed, So it's not just all about being big. A lot of guys want to just, don't get me wrong, are big guys, but I can cut down to 245 and still be able to handle a 260 guy. You know what I mean? And perform and move faster. So a lot of it for me was just performance of my body and being able to move at a different speed.
That seems to be the talk of the town. Notwithstanding one of our co-hosts, Angelo Reyes, who trains Frank Mir, and we were just talking about his weight. But in talking to guys like King Mo Lawal and Ryan Bader, they feel like at heavyweight, if you are the faster guy, you can have such an advantage that it outweighs getting out-muscled. Whereas about 10 years ago, Shane Carwin, Brock Lesnar, even Frank had gotten bigger back in the day. It was all about size.
Yeah, like at this point now, don't get me wrong, I'm still strong as crap, you know what I mean? But I want to, I just want to be able to move your body, because you can be big and strong, but if you can't move and you're just big and strong, it's it's give or take. Because I know plenty small guys that are strong, you know what I mean, and move way quicker than me, just because of my size, the weight that I'm carrying. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mohammed, how many times have you been in Vegas in the last 9 months, by the way?
Oh man, I haven't even been. I think I passed by one time. I haven't been in Vegas. I've been in Milwaukee training with the Junkie and those guys down there. So I did half of my camp down there in Milwaukee.
Oh,
and getting to know Duke, so that's where I've been spending a lot of my time down there with Duke.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, so you have, before your fight coming up April 14th, you have no plans on coming to Vegas?
Not at this moment. But
well, let me just say to you right now, based on what these guys are telling me about you, if you do happen to come to Vegas, we'd love to have you come on by and
for sure. But I would definitely be in Vegas in the immediate future. I can't just say it just yet, but I'll be in Vegas very, very soon.
Okay, cool. Well, keep in mind.
Will you be signing legal papers?
keep it.
I leave something to the imagination.
Look, I want you to keep in mind here that Frank Mir's gym is opening up. It'll be after the Fedor fight, and we have a lot of fun things going on. And I love that you're a finisher. I love that you're a heavyweight. I like what I'm hearing so far, baby. So come on over.
Yes, sir. That's my goal, man. I didn't come in this sport to be normal or be just a regular heavyweight. You know what I mean? I came in here to be exceptional. And my work ethic speaks for itself. I get up every morning, I go work out, I go train, but it's not, and I don't do it crazy. I'm smart. I give myself enough time to recover. You know what I mean? I put the time in, and I think that's really what it comes down to, and what I'm really realizing about this business. You put in what you get out. If you put the time in, you're gonna get the time out. If you half-ass your time, you're gonna get half-ass performances in your fight.
Allow me
so I put everything I got.
Allow me to fish a little bit here. Why the Vegas trip? Like, will there be an Elvis guy that might be telling you and a young lady, hey, these are the commitments for the rest of your life? Or do you plan on entering a big poker tournament? Or are you a secret fan of O.J. Simpson? You want to find him? Or could you be here to possibly sign some legal papers to take your career to a new level, a higher level?
Yeah, man. So let's just go with that last one, man. I can't just say just yet, but we got some big things going on coming up in the future, and I just take it one fight at a time. And then after I get rid of this guy, then I move on to the next one.
And Don'Tale Mayes was his opponent at VFC 60. It's coming up here on April 14th at Victory Fighting Championship 60, and you can watch the fights on the UFC Fight Pass. All right, Goes, what do you have for Mo Usman?
Mo, when we bring up Victory, the first thing that pops in our minds is that square cage. And I know it's early in your career. What do you think of that thing? How do you get work? Is it basically just working in a ring and getting used to those angles?
Yeah, man, definitely. But I don't really let the cage get to me, man. At Taki Palace, the cage was extremely small. So this would be I guess it is a step up, if you want to say. Because that cage was so small, it's just as soon as you come out of your corner, it's throwing blows right now, or make something happen. There's no space. Honestly, they made that cage small for a reason, because they wanted to get you being so nobody could run. UFC is the real big cage, so people have a lot of space to skate, do a lot of things, but not face their opponent. You know what I mean? So I feel like that Taki Palace cage really got me prepared to be able to stand and trade with guys. And then now I can use my skill sets in a square cage.
The way
a bigger cage, actually, is all I want to say.
The way 2017 shaped up for you, the spacing in between fights, the amount of fights, I imagine at some point later in your career you'll find the correct recipe of what it is you like. But so far, up until now, did you like that? 3 fights in a year and the spacing that you had in between them?
Yeah, I actually did. But, if you guys go all the way back to my first fight, I started kind of late. Not necessarily started in a year late, which you could say that. My first fight was in May. You know what I mean? I could have had a fight in January. I could have seen myself doing 4 or 5 fights last year. It's just the first fight that got booked for me was in May. So this year, and this year we kind of it's March. So I think I might be able to get 3 or 4 in this year too as well.
Mo, you said about the cage that obviously you don't want to let the cage dictate your fight. You want to fight your fight and worry about your skills. But tell me, I got to imagine training at a place with Duke Rufus, a lot of guys with ring experience and whatnot, and the angles and all the knowledge they bring. Were they able to tool you with some new tools for this fight coming in?
Oh man, I'm not gonna say too much about that, but they were definitely able to tool me with a lot of new tools. And if you guys all know Duke Rufus, with the Tyron Woodleys and a lot of guys down there, John McDessie's, a lot of guys down there, Anthony Pettis. I'm just training with these guys every day and just soaking up their knowledge. Paul Felder, all these guys every day. I was seeing these guys, training with these guys, built a relationship, a family with these guys. And I really got to see, I really got to take my talents to another level. It's not all about just throwing 100 shots, 30 shots. It's pinpoint accuracy, making sure you have something behind every punch, being controlled. A lot of things that I didn't get before I got when I went down there with Duke. And he's a former heavyweight fighter too, and a smaller, undersized guy, so he knows a lot of tricks and Kenny, a lot of things that I took from him. come back to Texas with me. And so I'm pumped for this fight, man. I'm excited. I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in, and I'm ready for this guy. Let's get it on.
All right, we got 2 minutes here. Dan's got one more question. We got to make it quick. Quick question, Dan. Quick question, Usman.
Just quick, if you got a prediction on your opponent. I know he doesn't have maybe not a lot of footage out there, but a lot of his, whether submissions or submissions by strikes, he looks like he likes to get things done fast. So have you seen anything on your opponent, Mo, and how do you see the fight going?
Yeah, man, I see the fight. I don't see the fight going past one. If it does, it'll be in my favor. I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna attack him, I'm gonna be in his face, and I'm gonna make him react. A lot of it is guys kind of scared of him, but he'll learn real fast that I'm a different type of guy. I'm not scared of nothing. And that power. A lot of guys say he's strong. I don't think he's felt any power yet. So when he feels a different type of power, it'll change up his game plan, and he'll rethink coming in there, just trying to get me out of there fast.
Can't wait to see it. Mo, thanks very much for joining us on MMA Junkie Radio, man. Always great to catch up with you.
Man, thank you guys so much for having me in, and I'll see you guys soon in Vegas.
Right on, brother.
I got your number.
All right, take care.
All right.
Or we'll see you.
All right, brother.
All right. Now listen, Angelo, we got 1 minute,
Okay.
which means I can only give you 30 seconds.
All right.
When does Frank's gym open, and what's it called? Are there any details just yet or not
Can't
yet?
give too many details,
Okay.
but it should be in mid-June.
Okay, cool.
And then Gumbaru.
Gumbaru is what it'll be called?
It's the clothing brand that Frank's going to be pushing, and it'll be a Gumbaru gym.
All right. Sounds good. So then we'll have you guys back after the fight, and we can talk about Gumbaru and the new gym and everything else that's going on. But thanks so much for co-hosting today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Awesome time with you. All right. Thank you to Mohammed Usman and Jamall Emmers. Oren Hodek, shout out to him for hooking up the Emmers interview. Give him a shout out, guys.
Hello, Oren.
And then also for Mo Usman, that came courtesy of Scott Zer. That's it for today. We are out of here. So for Angelo and Goes and Dan and Danny Beckis, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be a champion.